Blank game week 31 is here and my team selection's just gotten harder. Mo Salah could be injured after last night's Champions League fixture, which would force me into a midfield transfer. We're looking at the likes of Harry Wilson, Anthony Gordon, or maybe even somebody else. We're going to take a look at that and more in today's video, so let's get into this. Welcome back to the FPL Mogs YouTube channel and welcome to today's team selection video for blank game week 31. Of course, if you're brand new around here, make sure you're subscribed and don't forget to like the video as well. It's going to take you 2 seconds to do. It's one of the best ways to support my small FPL channel. Let's aim for 15 likes on today's team selection video. I know we can hit it. Let's aim for the defense now though to start things off. How are we dealing with the blank? Who are we benching? Well, my triple Arsenal defense since game week 8 has finally fallen, and I'm not playing any of them, of course, with no fixture in game week 31. But who comes into the squad to fill the gaps? Firstly, I want to speak about Rodon, Brentford at home. Now, it's one of those fixtures where I feel as though being a home fixture, you can feasibly get a clean sheet out of Rodon. But the way Brentford are playing, the season they're having with sort of that informed Thiago, he just can't stop scoring, can he? It doesn't feel like an excellent fixture, but it feels okay just for a blank game week. Of course, we're dead-ending my team into game week 31. We're not really going to have this team past game week 32 as we are planning to wildcard, so it may be weaker in some points, and I think that's okay for this game week. Keeping in mind my chip strategy should really benefit me some points in the long term. Another player that's coming in just to fill a gap is Dubravka in goal, Fulham away from home. Now, of course, in the introduction I mentioned I could buy Harry Wilson this week. That should tell you everything you need to know about Dubravka and his fixture there. It's not amazing, but it's not the worst either. I feel as though save points will come into play. Whether a clean sheet comes into play, it's highly unlikely, but I still feel as though having just any keeper that's playing at the weekend is better than none. We're happy with this so far. Anderson and Virgil are where I am quite content with the defence here. There's not as big of a fixture issue. Anderson with Burnley at home. Of course, Burnley have looked slightly better in recent weeks in some particular fixtures, but Anderson across the season has been absolutely fantastic for Fulham. Fulham themselves actually have been a pretty good team this season. It's a home fixture for them. I think it's a really good opportunity for a clean sheet. Maybe we can get defensive contributions from Anderson as well. He normally is quite good for that. I think he's been such an underrated pick so far this season. Really, really underrated for me. He's been in my team a lot of weeks, actually, now I think about it. Same with Virgil, an underrated pick, but last week he did disappoint me. Brighton away from home. I feel as though the rest from, I believe it was Wednesday till, I think they play Saturday. That should be enough of a rest for Virgil and the Liverpool players to get back into the Premier League mindset where they need to be getting points on the board. Brighton away from home isn't an awful fixture. Brighton are a bit hit and miss, and we've seen that for the majority of this season. Hopefully it's a week where they miss a lot so Virgil can get a clean sheet. But he has been decent this season so far, Virgil. He's due a goal. He really is. He needs to get up for a header. He almost scored a header last night, actually, in the Champions League. But my defence, overall, it's not that bad. It's just I feel as though Rodon and Dubravka are weaknesses, but there is that excuse of just dead-ending into game week 31. Why not save a few transfers? Let's move up now to the midfield where a transfer may have to be used on my injured, potentially, Mohamed Salah. Clicking record this morning and looking at Mo Salah being flagged has kind of put a dampener on my team for game week 31. Of course, my graphics aren't even updated because I did not realise the flag existed, but Mo Salah looked like he requested to come off the pitch last night with potentially a small injury. And with the game coming at the weekend and playing midweek against Galatasaray, maybe he misses out. I'm really not sure. But We'll have to wait and see. It could be a transfer needed there, and we'll speak about that at the end of the midfield section here. Starting with Dango, though, with Leeds away from home. As I mentioned with Rodon, I think any fixture at Ellen Road is a good fixture for Leeds, but with teams like Brentford and, more quality teams in the Premier League, when they go to Ellen Road, they do just outperform ever so slightly with that quality they have. I feel as though Brentford could definitely do that on the day. And Dango has been playing pretty well recently, so I'm excited to see how he does within that fixture. Bruno Fernandes, captain against Bournemouth away from home. I feel as though whenever one of my assets has a Bournemouth fixture, I always say the line of, they score a lot, but they also concede a lot. Bruno Fernandes, he's been unbelievable this season. I would love to go back into my comments section, into my old live streams, and just look at you all calling me an idiot for having Bruno Fernandes in my team. Everyone should have him. He's absolutely unbelievable. Of course, it's maybe a bit too late now going into blanks and doubles, but he's been an absolute joke. If you've got him at home, congratulations. He is amazing. Maybe I'll stop the glazing now, but he's just been insane for me this season, and he's my captain this game week. Szoboszlai, Brighton away from home. We've spoken about the quality of the fixture there. Szoboszlai, though, last night against Galatasaray, he's just an absolute monster. He is their player of the season by a landslide. Absolutely unbelievable. Such a quality player. Can do really anything that Arne Slot wants. We've got Tavernier against Manchester United at home. Not as strong as a fixture as Tavernier's already had. And in fact, he did disappoint last game week against Burnley away from home, providing only a clean sheet point. Potentially there's something in this game for him at home, but I just can't see it. I really can't. It's just the case he's at least got a fixture this week. Manchester United have looked really good as of late as well. I suppose we'll get on to Mo Salah's replacements here if I was really to need them. There's really 3 options I would go for this week, and we'll do them in order. First, it's Harry Wilson. Burnley at home. He's in good form this season. I feel as though that's an obvious pick. And of course, if Jimenez isn't on the pitch, it looks like Harry Wilson would take penalties for Fulham. So that's maybe something to keep in mind. Next, despite Chelsea being a bit poor in the Champions League, it actually would be Cole Palmer. It's another 1 penalties. Not a bad fixture. I believe it's Everton away from home. Let's double check that. Is it away or is it at home? It is away from home. But I still think Cole Palmer could be an okay 1-week punt against Everton. Of course, we all remember Cole Palmer scoring against Everton and just getting that massive haul. It might have been last season. Can't remember if it was the start or the end, but that was a ridiculous haul he got against Everton. Third on the list would be Anthony Gordon. Just from an analytic point of view, I'm a Sunderland fan. I will not be making that move. I don't think it's worth it. I just don't think that game's going to have goals whatsoever. I mean, if Newcastle perform how they did against Barcelona, maybe Sunderland can stick a few past them. But yeah, I'm just not as keen on that move, even though I am an analytical manager. Let's move up now to the forwards, though, and kind of tie everything together with the team. Of course, we have a little bit of discussion about maybe not making a transfer at all this week, but let's look at the forward line to see that. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Thiago and Evan Nielsen finished off my blank Game Week 31 team this week. And we'll start with Calvert-Lewin here, Brentford at home. We spoke about the fixture with Rodon, but I feel as though it's much, much better for an attacking asset of Leeds like Dominic Calvert-Lewin than it is for a defensive asset in a Rodon this week. Calvert-Lewin has penalties. He's looked okay in recent weeks. Not amazing, but okay. Of course, missing a penalty last game week, disappointing quite a lot of managers. I feel as though he's not going to lose penalties whatsoever. I am slightly excited for the game for him. I feel as though it could be an okay opportunity for Leeds to get something. But I do think there'll be goals in the game, so I'm not expecting a clean sheet for Rodon, but perhaps for Calvert-Lewin an attack and return could come. Thiago, I mean, he just doesn't really stop, does he? He has little periods where he blanks a few games, but I do believe this is not a game week where he will blank. I expect him to be almost a poacher in the box at times against Leeds. Of course, the physical side, Thiago can get physical back. I'm quite pleased about his fixture this week. I don't necessarily think he's a captaincy option. Like I say, I think there'll be goals in the game, but I'm not entirely sure they'll all come from Thiago. I do believe it will be sort of a vast spread of different attacking opportunities for different players this game week. Penalties for Thiago as well is always a great thing. But for me, Bruno Fernandes is the obvious captain for me and my team this game week. Mohamed Salah's injury, Evan Nilsson sat on the bench. How am I going to deal with that? Am I just going to save a transfer? Well, I feel as though the optimal play in sort of a long-term environment here, and sort of that long-term chip strategy of wildcard 32, bench boost 33, and of course a free hit in game week 34, it's probably the best idea to actually save the transfer. However, Harry Wilson and Cole Palmer feel incredibly tempting just to sub straight in, especially with how weak of an asset Evan Nilsson genuinely is at the moment. He should have scored in last week's fixture. He really, really should have, but I don't think we can look at that anymore. He is just disappointing for me. I would be happy starting this exact team as of now. If the deadline was in 5 minutes' time, I would start this team. And if Salah wasn't to play, Evan Nilsson would get subbed in. I feel as though that's a strong enough team to go into a blank game week with. But there are genuine thoughts about Harry Wilson and Cole Palmer this week. I don't think I would captain either of them. Bruno Fernandes would still be my captain for the week, but that is the team and how I'm dealing with the blank game week. Of course, if you have any questions about you and your team or any players this week, drop them in the comments. I reply to every single one. Please go ahead and do so if you need that extra little bit of help for a blank game week. But that is all for today's team selection video. Of course, I'll see you. I'll remind myself to tell you, I'll see you on tomorrow's deadline stream starting about 4:30 or 5 p.m. Just a quick outro to today's video. Of course, the FPL deadline is tomorrow, which means my deadline stream is coming to you guys around 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. Of course, heading all the way until our 6:30 deadline. Do not miss out on it, guys. Make sure you're getting your teams ready, especially in a blank game week. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you've dropped a like. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click subscribe for future FPL content and FPL streams. But that is everything for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.